Imagine a cosmic battlefield, where angels stand in radiant armor, awaiting their command. At the center of it all is Michael, the Archangel, the one called the leader of heaven's armies. But why him? Why is Michael given this title, and what does it reveal about God's call for us today? Welcome to Divine War Stories, a channel where we uncover the hidden battles, the truths of Scripture, and the eternal lessons they hold. If you've ever wondered about the unseen world, the purpose of angels, and how all of this connects to your own life, you're in the right place. Let's dive deep together. Michael is not just another angel. Scripture reveals him as the defender of God's people, the warrior who stands against the forces of darkness. He's described as the prince who fights for Israel in Daniel, and in Revelation he is the one who leads the armies of heaven against the dragon. But here's the key: his authority does not come from himself. Michael's title as commander is rooted in obedience to Christ, the true King of Kings. This shows us something profound. Real strength is found in surrender, not in pride. When we talk about Michael's leadership, we are not celebrating his power alone. We are celebrating the reflection of Christ's authority through him. Just like Moses lifted the staff but it was God who split the sea, Michael leads, but it is Christ who gives victory. In the same way, our lives can only carry weight when aligned with God's will. Leadership in heaven's armies is not about dominance, but about submission to the one who reigns above all. That's a lesson for us on earth too. Now let's break down something central. Why is purity so important? The Bible constantly reminds us to live in separation from sin. This does not mean being flawless, but being dedicated to God's purpose. Think of a cup. If it's filled with dirty water, it cannot refresh anyone. In the same way, if our lives are filled with sin, how can we carry God's message? Michael's loyalty shows us the power of a life emptied of self and filled with obedience. Many think of sin as just breaking rules, but it's more like a disease that spreads silently, weakening the soul. Michael stands against Satan because Satan represents corruption, rebellion, and death. Christ calls us to resist sin not to rob us of joy, but to protect what's most precious, our soul. A soul aligned with God is like a flame that no storm can extinguish. That's why the Bible urges us to flee sin and cling to righteousness. It's easy to see Michael as a distant figure, but the truth is his battle connects with our daily lives. Just as he fought for Israel, he represents how God defends those who trust him. Have you noticed how temptation works like whispers in the dark, pulling us away from God's plan? Michael's fight in heaven mirrors the fight inside us every day. The victory comes when we cling to Christ, who already crushed the serpent under his feet. Christ's command for us to pursue a life dedicated to him is not a burden, it's freedom. Imagine a soldier in battle. His armor is heavy, but without it he is vulnerable. In the same way, the discipline of living in God's light may feel hard, but it shields us from destruction. Michael leads heaven's armies clothed in authority because he stays under Christ's command. Our shield is the word, our strength is prayer, and our purpose is clear. Why does Christ insist on this? Because he treasures our soul more than anything else we own. Our possessions, our successes, even our bodies will fade. But our soul is eternal. Michael's very title reminds us of this truth. Armies of heaven exist because God values us enough to defend us. Think about it. Heaven's might is mobilized not for riches or power, but for people, for souls that he loves beyond measure. The Bible shows us many parallels that drive this point home. Just like Noah was called to build an ark when the world mocked him, we are called to live differently even when culture pulls the other way. Just like Israel was set apart among nations, we are called to reflect Christ in a world that glorifies sin. Michael's leadership is the heavenly image of this principle: obedience and dedication to God above all else. It's impossible to live perfectly. The Bible itself acknowledges this. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But here's the good news. Christ doesn't demand perfection, he asks for surrender. Michael wins not because he is flawless, but because he fights under the authority of the Lamb. In the same way, our victory is not in our works, but in the blood of Christ that covers us. This is the heart of the gospel. So when we think of Michael as the leader of heaven's armies, it's not just about angels clashing in the sky, it's about God's message for us today. Leadership through obedience. Power through surrender. Freedom through dedication. Every battle Michael fights is a reminder that Christ calls us to resist sin, to live with purpose, and to value our soul above all else. And this same Christ walks with us, even when we stumble, offering forgiveness and strength to stand again. Think of it like this. When David faced Goliath, the victory wasn't in his sling or his stone, but in his trust in God. Michael's leadership echoes the same truth. Victory never comes from weapons alone, but from standing under divine authority. Just as David declared, "The battle belongs to the Lord," Michael fights under the command of Christ. And we too, in our daily struggles, are reminded that no matter how big the giant of sin may appear, Christ has already declared victory for those who stand firm in him. Michael's role also speaks about identity. He is called the Great Prince who stands guard over God's people. His name means, "who is like God?" A constant reminder of who truly holds power. Compare this to Lucifer, who wanted to exalt himself. Michael's very name rebukes pride and points back to the Creator. This is the lesson. Our lives must echo that same humility, constantly pointing upward, never inward. The moment we take credit for God's victories, we risk falling into the same deception that destroyed Satan. The command to live set apart is not just for angels, it is for us. Christ said we are the salt of the earth, and the light of the world. Salt loses its flavor when it mixes too much, and light loses its impact when hidden. In the same way, when we compromise with sin, we lose our ability to shine. Michael's leadership reminds us that separation from corruption is not optional, it is essential. If heaven's armies march in purity, how can we live comfortably in darkness? This is why Scripture warns us not to love the world or the things in it. Because the world's promises fade, but God's truth endures. Michael's loyalty shows us that eternity outweighs temporary pleasure. Think about Israel in the wilderness. They traded God's presence for golden idols, and it cost them dearly. Michael's obedience is a counterexample. It shows us the blessing that comes when we refuse to bow to idols, whether of gold, fame, or hidden sins of the heart. But here's the beautiful part. Christ doesn't simply demand dedication, he empowers it. The same Spirit that filled the apostles, giving them boldness to stand before kings, is available to us today. Michael's authority flows from Christ, and our endurance flows from him too. When we stumble, his grace lifts us. When we feel weak, his Spirit strengthens us. Michael's title as commander is not about glory for himself, but about showing that victory is possible when the Lord leads. Let's take another biblical parallel. Joshua standing before Jericho. He didn't conquer with might, but with obedience to God's strange command: march, blow trumpets, and shout. The walls fell not because of human strategy but because of divine power. Michael's leadership is the same principle magnified. Obedience opens the door to victory. And for us, the walls of sin, addiction, and despair crumble not by our effort, but by yielding to Christ's command. Even in Revelation, where Michael leads the battle against the dragon, the text emphasizes something crucial. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Notice it doesn't say Michael's sword was the ultimate weapon. The Lamb's sacrifice was. Michael leads, but Christ wins. That means our testimony, our lives lived in surrender, become weapons in the spiritual realm. The real battlefield is our heart, and Christ equips us for it. So why is Michael called the leader of heaven's armies? Because he embodies loyalty, obedience, and relentless dedication to God's will. His authority comes from submission, not rebellion. His strength comes from reflecting Christ's glory, not seeking his own. And his victory reminds us of a greater truth: Christ alone reigns. Every angel, every believer, every army in heaven bows to him. Michael leads, but Christ is the commander of eternity. And here's where this connects with us directly. You are part of this story. You may not wear armor like Michael, but you are called to fight daily battles. Against doubt, against sin, against despair. And Christ has equipped you with the same resources. His word as a sword, his Spirit as your shield, and his presence as your commander. The question is, will you stand under his authority or try to fight alone? Michael's example teaches us to choose surrender, for that is where victory lies. So here's the invitation. Don't let this just be another story about an angel. Let it be a call to action. Open Scripture daily because it is your lifeline. Seek a church that doesn't just preach words but lives out Christ's mission, helping the poor, caring for widows, defending orphans just as he commanded. And above all, guard your soul because it is your most precious treasure. Michael leads heaven's armies, but Christ leads your heart, if you let him. Choose today to live set apart, not in perfection but in surrender.